And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Okay, tonight's weather showing that strong storm moving northward and slowly weakening, moving to the Seward Peninsula tonight. So look for snow here, central Arctic coast all the way down into the Yukon Delta, becoming mixed for the Kuskokwim Delta eastward here, and still mostly in the form of rain, with still gusty winds here across southern Alaska, more southwesterly winds out over Bristol Bay and lighter, and becoming quite light there for the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, light winds and dry, and snow showers for the Aleutians, and areas of rain here for the southeast coast. For tomorrow, you can see the system here, the moisture just coming onto the chart here tonight, takes off to the northeast tomorrow, so look for wind and rain on the increase all of the southeast coast and to a lesser extent for the North Gulf Coast. A pretty good day here by comparison. Winds much lighter tomorrow, and temperatures cooler here across southern Alaska with snow showers from the Susitna Valley and into the interior, just kind of widely scattered here north of the Alaska Range. Areas of snow, the lows tracking northward, continuing to slowly weaken. So all the heavy winds are about over with it, but still kind of a widespread area of some light snow here across Norton Sound on up to the western Brooks Range area. Snow showers over the southeast Bering Sea, and more snow showers out here to the west with a weak trough moving across Adak and Atka. And then for Tuesday, that weak trough moves eastward here with a narrow band of some light snow associated with it, possibly as far south there on Alaska Island. But from Nikolsky westward all the way to the Komodorskis, light winds with possible clearing across the entire Aleutian chain, and a pretty good chance of some clearing here over the southwest interior. Light snow or snow showers there for the Seward Peninsula along the northwest coast eastward into the Kobuk Valley. And not too bad for the North Slope. Light winds for the Arctic coast. Areas of light snow possible here for the upper Tanana Valley 40-mile country. Next system coming up toward Kodiak Island here. More rain there. Wind's not much of a problem with this system. And then areas of light snow with a weak front here, kind of as it moves inland, will weaken and bring moisture mostly over the mountainous terrain. Clearing out, should be a nice day for Cook Inlet, definitely for Prince William Sound, and some light precipitation for the southeast coast. Coastal water forecast, gale warnings tomorrow on the central and south coast there. South to southeast winds 40 to 45 knots, and south to southeast winds 20 to 30 knots on the north coast. And for Lynn Canal, south winds 20 knots and south at 35 knots. So gale warnings for Stevens Passage and Clarence Strait there. And for the day on Tuesday, get my head out of the way, southwest winds lighter here, 20 knots for the south coast, and the north coast here south 25 to 30 knots and 25 to 40 knot winds for Lynn Canal from the south. Southeast winds 20 knots, central and southern inner channels. And then for Prince William Sound, small craft advisories tomorrow, south at 25 knots. Still looking at gale force southerlies for northern Cook Inlet at 35 knots early on. Southwest 30 knots for southern Cook Inlet and 25 knots for the Barren Islands and Kamishak Bay. North Gulf Coast, south to southwest winds, 30 knots. And for the day on Tuesday, north winds 25 to 30 knots for Cook Inlet. Northwest 30 knots for Kamishak Bay, but south at 30 knots for the Barren Islands and the North Gulf Coast. Southwesterlies at 25 knots, southwest at 20 for Prince William Sound. Kodiak Island, southwest winds 20 to 25 knots, 25 knot southwest winds for Bristol Bay. And the Alaska Peninsula, west-southwest winds at 15 to 20 knots. For the peninsula on Tuesday, lighter winds swinging around to the north and northeast there at 15 knots. Lighter northeast winds at 15 knots for Bristol Bay, and Kodiak Island for Shelikof Strait, northeast at 20, south 25 on the east side. And for the Fox Islands tomorrow, variable winds, light variable winds at 10 to 15 knots, variable at 20 for the central Aleutians, and then picking the winds up for the western Aleutians out of the west and northwest at 30 to 40 knots. And then for the day on Tuesday, western Aleutians, west to southwest winds 15 to 20 knots, west to 20 knots for Adak and Atka. And for the eastern Aleutians, west to northwest winds 15 to 20 knots. And for the southwest coast here tomorrow, we've got West to southwest winds at 25 knots, west at 25 for the St. Lawrence Island area, and pretty brisk there for the Norton Sound area, southwest at 30 knots, west 30 knots St. Matthew Island, and lighter northwest winds at 20 for the Pribilofs. And for the day on Tuesday, southeast 15 there for the Kuskokwim Delta Coast, small craft or brisk wind advisories here, Yukon Delta Coast, St. Lawrence Island south at 25, and St. Matthew Island south at 30. And for the Arctic coast, lightest here out of the east on the east side there, 10 to 15. East 25 on the central coast, and the Chukchi Sea here, south to northeast at 20 to 25 knots. And then for the day on Tuesday, a little more general direction now for the central and west side here. Actually, the entire Arctic coast, west-southwesterlies at 20, and the Chukchi Sea southwest at 25 knots.